Hi, we're going to talk about all the quilts I've done this year. Well, all the quilts I've finished this year, 2024. I'm filming in my son's room because so I can show you the quilt that I made for his room. I made the curtains too, but we're not talking about those today. I'll start with, I guess, the most recent one that I finished, and it was just a cute. So we took a trip and lost one of the last baby quilts that we got at my baby shower for my son. So it wasn't like a super important one or anything. We have one that has his name embroidered on it, and so we keep good track of that one. It wasn't that one, it was just one, but regardless, I took that opportunity to make him another travel blanket or quilt. So this is my second time making him a quilt. Well, third if you count the big one. I made him one when he was a baby and he hated it. So I thought I'd try again, and this would just be used in the car. I let him pick out the main fabrics for it. Really all the fabrics, I think, and all I had to buy was the dinosaur fabric. So he picked out this dinosaur fabric. Let me get it going the right way. He picked out the dinosaur fabric, and then I just looked up kind of an easy design. This is like not a Lone Star. Maybe it is a Lone Star. No, it's not a Lone Star. One of those kind of star things. And I put the dinosaur print in the corners and then just used green, purple, and yellow, what I had in my stash. And then purple polka dot for the back I also had in my stash. And then I just did a fold over binding, where you just take the back and you fold it over and that becomes a binding. I know that's called something, but I can't really think of what it's called. So I did, this is the first time using my walking foot on my machine. I just wanted to try it out, and I figured this would be a good one to try it out with because it's so small. I just did meandering random squiggles, waves, whatever you want to call them. And I loved using the walking foot and doing this kind of quilting. It was really fun and really easy, and you don't have to be precise with it because I'm not a precise kind of person. So it was fun. I put my initials and the year that I made it here, just as, you know, reference. I kind of wish that my mother, I still have a lot of threads I need to clip, ignore that. I wish my mother and my grandmother would have done this with their quilts, but I figure I can do them with mine, so I've been doing that with mine here lately. I didn't do any, I did one little decorative stitch, little hearts. So my machine has some decorative stitching. I just did a little line of hearts just randomly at the top. When I do my quilts, I like to be able to tell what the top part of the quilt is. So when I make big quilts, like you'll see on his in a minute, I make the top border a little bit thinner than the rest of the border, so that when you're just looking at the quilt, you can tell what part is the top. I don't know. I just like doing that. And so I did this on his quilt. Since he doesn't have a border, I did just a line, and that is the top of the quilt, the little hearts. So it was very fun. It was easy. He still doesn't love using it, but I don't know. It was fun to make, and now I just keep it in the car, and that's what we have. So he uses it. And that was a free pattern, and I think I made it bigger. I'll try to link something similar, either the one I used or something similar below. Okay, next up, I made a quilt. I finally finished the quilt for my dad, for my dad's bed at his house. And he is in the process of kind of moving over to some family property that we have and building a house and stuff over there. And so I technically made this quilt for that over there, but you know, it's his. He can do whatever he wants to with it. He doesn't have it yet. He knows, he's seen it, but so I've given it to him, but he wanted me to hang on to it until he gets over to the property. So we use it and we actually travel with it. It goes, like, we're going this weekend, we're going to stay in a hotel just one night for a little minor trip, and we're going to take this quilt with us. So it's been traveling with us, and I wanted something that I didn't have to buy anything for. I wanted it to be kind of, my dad's a big, or used to be a really big hunter, and he's ex-military, he's a veteran. So he loves camo and that kind of thing. So I want it to be camo-esque without being just super camo. So I did camo colors, which is green and tan, brown and black. And I wanted to do a really simple design so that I didn't have to think about it really. I wanted like a mindless kind of thing. So I took all of my green scraps and cut them into like 2.5 by 5.5, so they'd be 2 by 5 finished. Yeah, I think that's what I did. And I just googled chevron quilt patterns and kind of looked at them and kind of figured out how they went and decided on how big I wanted the blocks. And it was super easy to put together. I wanted something super easy. I wanted to do machine quilting on his too, super easy machine quilting. And I wanted to do scrappy binding, but that wasn't going to work, and I had a bunch of this store-bought black binding, so I just used store-bought black binding, but I put it all on by machine, which I've also never done before. I was taught, or shown, my mother, I should say, was the traditionalist when it came to quilting. So you could machine piece it, but you hand quilted it, and you stitched the binding on the front with the machine, and then wrapped it around and hand stitched it on the back. And I like doing that. I enjoy binding a lot. So if you have any quilts that need binding and you hate doing binding, you can send them to me and I would do it, because I love doing binding. So weird. I actually really hate the cutting out part of quilts. I love the designing, I love the sewing and the quilting and all the rest of it. It's the cutting out, because I'm not a precise person. Anyway, I digress. Okay, so chevron quilt pattern. It is big. I kind of just put it, like all the blocks, I just made up all the blocks. So the blocks are comprised of a tan with polka dots and a green, and then you just move them different ways to make the chevron, right? So I just made a butt ton of those blocks, put them all out on our bed, which is a queen, because my dad said he wanted a really big, because my mother used to make him quilts, but he's 6 feet tall and he likes to tuck blankets, so it needs to be super big, kind of oversized for the bed, if that makes sense. So he just has a full-size bed, but he wanted an extra big quilt. So I used our bed, which is queen, as reference, and just kind of made blocks and arranged them on there until I felt like it was big enough. And then made it a little bit bigger. So it worked out. I did a little bit of border because I really like my quilts with a border, turns out. And I did the same thing where the top border is a little bit smaller, not as wide. Yeah, you can kind of tell. So this is the top and this is one of the sides. It's just a little bit smaller. And I did machine quilting. Just super simple, again, meandering, wavy lines, but I did them cross-hatched, I guess you would say, going both directions. Whereas with the dinosaur quilt, I just went in one direction. I just started in the middle and then worked my way out. This one, I started in the middle, worked my way out, and then did it again going the other way. I didn't want to do too much quilting on it, machine quilting, because I feel like that makes it too dense and it just like sits on top of you instead of like enveloping you in the coziness, you know. I mean, nothing's as cozy as a hand quilted quilt, but I didn't really want to do another hand quilt because this was hand quilted. So, but I really like how this turned out, and like I said, we've been using it and traveling with it. My dad really likes it, and yeah, it's a good one. So there's that one. We'll just shove that over there. And then the big kahuna here. So I'm still in the process. I don't know if I'll ever be done with my son's room. I wish somebody would have told me. It's just one of those things that you don't really know until you're in it or past it, that when you're pregnant and you're doing the nursery or the kids' room, don't do it as a nursery. Do it as a big kids' room. Paint the walls a big kid color. Do the, you know, get real furniture as much as you can. I wish I would have done like all the walls, painted all the walls, because now it's really hard to paint in here. Anyway, but I did always want to make him curtains and a quilt for this room, so I've finally done that. This was a ultimate labor of love, but luckily my son loves it. He loves his quilt. So I purchased all of these fabrics. So here it is. His bed is full, but I did it a little bit oversized. And I used the pattern. Oh no. Oh, here it is. It's actually on the cover. It's this one. And I just changed the fabrics to be more little boy like, with plaids and things. Okay. Let me see if I can back up. But I mean, this thing's huge. I'm not going to be able to show you all of it, but here it is. Here's the back. It's a green and blue plaid. Here's a close-up of the quill block. And I did do the scrappy binding on it. So I just took all the scraps left and just made scrappy binding, which I love. I love that I did this. It turned out so good. I love it. So, okay, so the fabrics on this. The fabrics came from a craft thrift store up in Nashville called S.M.A.R.T. S.M.A.R.T. I'll put it on the screen and I'll link them below. Fantastic place. I go quite a bit through the year. I'm about a couple hours, no, maybe less, from Nashville. So it's an easy drive for me. And I love Nashville and Knoxville anyway. So I've got all of these fabrics minus the white. The white is just white muslin that was in my stash. And sorry, I just sneezed off camera and now my nose is going to run. So all the fabric came from there, and my son was with me when I picked them out. and he picked out the heart fabric actually. And that's kind of what I based it all around. So cute. He was really into hearts and patriotic flag stuff for a long, long time. He just recently kind of moved on from that. But he picked that out. I picked the rest of the fabrics out. The red plaid. Okay, the red plaid and the solid blue. This thing already has issues. Okay. Red plaid, solid blue are homespun fabrics, as well as the plaid for the back. They're all homespun fabrics, so they're a little bit softer, but they were all really easy to cut up and work with. I decided a long time ago that I wanted to do a red, white, and blue kind of room and quilt for him, but not super red, white, and blue, hence using this pattern. Red, white, and blue, but it's, you know, they use florals, but I think there's a better, I've kind of destroyed this because I obviously used it, and I don't even know if the actual pattern is still in here. It may have fallen out. Yeah, see, it's like the pages have fallen out because I used them so much. But there's kind of a good shot of it there. So I love how this turned out. I wanted to make a red, white, and blue quilt for his room, and I wanted to hand quilt it. I've never hand quilted, well, I've hand quilted one baby quilt in my life. Like I said, my mother hand quilted all of her quilts and just thought that was the only way to do it. So I wanted to try that, and I very quickly learned why she only hand quilted or made like baby quilts and small like throws for the couch, because a quilt this big, it took me like 6, 7, 8 months to just hand quilt it. Of course, you know, I had my son, you know, was a little bit smaller then, and you know, I couldn't just sit and hand quilt for hours on end. Had to do other things, so it took a while, but I did finish it this year. Actually earlier this year, and I love it. So I just used hand quilting thread, just standard cream colored hand quilting thread, and it was great to work with. It wasn't too soft, it wasn't too tough, it was perfect. And I didn't use a hoop or anything, quilting frame, nothing like that. I just had it. No, I did use a hoop, didn't I? I don't remember because I tried everything. Did I use a hoop? I don't remember. I used a hoop on some of it, and then I would not use a hoop. So like I said, I had never done one this big, so I wanted to try out everything. I also tried out the thimbles, and hold on a second, I'll go get that whole little bin. Hold on. Alright, so this is my official hand quilting bin. This is a little cross-stitch puppy dog that I put my pins in, my needles in. So here's the thread. This is what I had left over. So this was full, like this one. I bought two because I had no idea how much it was going to take. This is a full one. This is just Coats & Clark hand quilting thread. Hopefully that'll. Oh. I don't know if you have to like cover up your face, don't you? Okay. And this is what I had left. I was shocked that I didn't use more than this, but I didn't. I still have plenty. That worked great. And then these are the thimbles. So I guess the needles, I end up using some of my cross stitch DMC 24 is what I end up using. They work great. And then the thimbles, I started using them at first, and then I figured out don't use them at first and let the needle give you a callus, you know, wherever. I mean, for me it was right here because the way I, you know, plucked it or whatever. So so I let the needle build up a callus here first, and then I used a thimble like on this finger, I think, or like this one on my thumb. That worked really well for me because I didn't want to, it was too bulky for me to wear like 2 thimbles, and I kind of needed 2 thimbles, but I was like, well, I'll do a callus on one and a thimble on the other, and it worked great. It took me a while to get in the groove and not stab myself a bunch. And I ended up doing just like a stitch in the ditch kind of thing. Now this is not perfect. This was not a perfection kind of job, but I just want to, I can't see you, but I assume you can see the stitching. I just did kind of stitch in the ditch stitching all the way around all the parts, all the lines, all the seams, you know. I stopped, where did I stop? I think I just did the squares. I didn't do any of the border. So, oh, here's the thimbles that I had. I had 3 different kinds. I did not end up using this one. I just couldn't get the hang of it. I used this one the most. Nice little plastic one. And then I like the little silicone one too. Little thin silicone one. So that was kind of my arsenal of things I used. And every time I look at this, I think that the white is, that the blue has bled onto the white. But I think there's a lot of blue in this room, and the light is probably a little bit blue or something, so it just makes it look blue. I've taken it out into the rest of the house, and it looks fine. I mean, it wouldn't matter anyway. Like I said, my son loves it. So, yeah. Machine stitched, using this pattern, whatever I've already lost. Man, I can't keep track of nothing. Yeah, using this one. Oh, that kind of has the actual, I guess that is kind of the only, using that pattern. And oh, so getting the fabric, I knew it was going to be a big quilt, and just buying that kind of fabric at Walmart or a quilt shop would just be way out of my budget. So doing that craft thrift store, I think they were running a sale, and the fabric, which is normally $10 a pound, and it's usually about 3 yards, it was maybe $5 a pound. Maybe it was half off. Maybe it was $7 a pound. I don't remember, but it was a little bit of a sale. And so I got an entire bolt of the green and blue fabric, an entire bolt of the heart fabric. Well, there's probably like half a bolt. And then I cut, because they had a cutting table there, and then I cut what I needed for the red and the solid blue based on whatever the pattern called for. So all of that was like 30 bucks, and that was it. It was kind of outrageously in the best way possible. So essentially this was $30. And I mean, the thread, I guess, was probably kind of pricey. So maybe 40 bucks total What else? What else? I don't know. I love it. I'm really proud of it. My son loves it. It looks great in here. I would love to hand quilt something again, but I don't know if I have it in me. You know, I had a really good reason for doing his. You know, I really wanted to give him a handmade quilt like my mother did me most of my life, for his room and stuff. So I did that, and I don't know what I'll do with my hand quilting. So one thing I will say about hand quilting versus machine quilting, especially if it's going to be a quilt that's going to be used a lot, like on a bed. Or I guess all quilts. I mean, all quilts in my world are used a lot. They're either used on a bed or used with traveling or used on the couch. So anyway, I've had to very poorly, and that could be part of my quilting noviceness, is that some of the stitches are coming undone, is what I'm trying to say. And I've had to tack them together, kind of Frankenstein them back up. And I have actually one I need to repair. My husband found it the other night at bedtime. It's on one of the edges, but I will say hand quilting quilts are not going to be as rugged and tough as the machine quilts are. I mean, they're just not, but you know, it's give and take with everything. So yeah, that's all of that. I do have, so that's all the quilts I've completed this year. I know there's 3 quilts, but that's just how I am. So I am working on a quilt that I do expect to get the quilt top done by the end of the year, so I'm gonna go ahead and show that to you. I would love to get it finished before Christmas because it's a Christmas quilt, but it's not so Christmas, so I don't know. It's not a big deal. I think I've shown this one too. This one. Now I will link this below. This comes from the American Patchwork and Quilting Magazine online. So I don't know if you can find this. If you don't have the magazine, I don't know if you can just go to the website and find it or not. So I'll see what I'll link something below so you can find it. Maybe the designer. Yeah. They have a website. So maybe just the straight up designer if you don't have the magazine. So I've had this cut out for a long time, and I started working on it, and I think one of my few videos back I showed it and I was working on it. Well, I have since stitched the entire quilt top and then taken it all apart, and I'm re-sewing it again to pay closer attention to my seams. So I love how this looks, but this means all those seams need to match up pretty well in order to give this kind of effect. So I took it all apart after I let it sit for, you know, several weeks, and just started re-stitching it again and paying closer attention to my seams. I actually took it all apart and realized that all my seams were super off because the blue was cut too big. So I took it all apart, all the blocks, and cut them, squared them back down. So it's actually probably going to be smaller than the original because I've had to square them up and make them more even. So it's gonna be cute anyway. It's fine. And I really like how it's turning out. It's turning out much better. The seams are still not perfect. That's just not where I'm at, and I'm okay with that. But you know, I mean, the seams, case in point, on my son's quilt, the seams are not perfect. They are quite not perfect, but hardly any of the seams match up on this quilt. But from here, can you tell? No. So I don't worry about it too much. Same thing for this. This is where I am on this again, for like the 3rd time. But I think it's turning out so cute. Oh, it looks really good in the camera. I haven't like held it up like this yet. Oh, that looks good. Does that look good? So, very excited for that. And I'll just keep on. Now, I had all of these fabrics as well, except for I had to buy one color. And as you can see, the middle part, it's just, they just use white for the middle squares or triangles. Triangles? Yes, triangles. Wow. But I use this little fabric I've had forever. Actually, remember buying this with my mother at like Hancock Fabrics or something 1,000 years ago. So I used that. The blue came from my mother's stash, and I think I bought the other green. Yeah, I had the orange, I had red, yeah. So I bought this green, just from Walmart, and yeah, so that's turning out really, really cute, actually. I'm even more excited about that now. So, like I said, I expect to get that done by the end of the year, but I'm not sure, the quilt top, I mean, I'm not sure how I want to quilt it. I would love to kind of hand quilt it and maybe do like the big stitch hand quilting that I see is kind of becoming popular. My mother would have hated that because the point was to make your stitches almost invisible. But that's hard to do. So I kind of did an in-between. You know, I tried the big stitch on this and I didn't like it. So I just kind of did, you know, they're bigger stitches, but they're not the big stitch kind of thing. Big decorative stitch. But maybe I could do big decorative stitch on this one. I don't want to machine quilt it. Again, I don't want another machine quilted quilt. I'd like to do another hand quilting. What do y'all think? I don't know what fabric I'm going to use on the back. Yeah, I don't know. What do y'all think? What do you recommend? Here, I'll show it again. What do you recommend for quilting for something like this? So, yeah, I'll get that done and then we'll go from there. And that's kind of all I have on the table right now for as far as quilting. Yeah, as far as quilting. So I do have a big bin of things that are cut up and ready to be sewed up into quilt tops. I thought I'd just kind of go through those with you, just for fun. And then we'll kind of end the video. So, a few years back, year before last, maybe last year, I cut up a bunch of, I mean, we're talking like 10. I think I cut out 10 fabrics for 10 quilts. One of them was his quilt. One of them was that Christmas quilt. And, okay, maybe not 10, maybe like 6 or 7. And this is what I have left. And so I've cut them all up. I loved this process. If I could do this process with my entire craft room, and then all I have to do is go into a shelf or something and pull this out and start sewing on it or working on it, that is like the ultimate goal for me. I mean, I love going through magazines and things and finding patterns and finding what I have to go with it and that kind of thing. But once you do it like 10 times, you're kind of good for a while. Anyway, so this is what I have in here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 left. So 6, 7. I want to say I had like 8. Maybe I just had 7. Anyway, so I have 5. This is actually a fall themed quilt that I loved I loved figuring out and like cutting all the pieces, but I have not had the desire to pull it out and work on it. See if I can find the pattern for it. I think it's in this one. Side note, I love this quilt. Just a super simple. It's not this kind of video, but okay, let me see if I can find this. I should have marked this off. Should have marked it in the magazine, shouldn't I? Lacy, here it is. Okay. Da-da-da. This is again from American Patchwork and Quilting. I think most of these are. I really like that magazine. I don't even think I'm getting it anymore because I have plenty, but I love this magazine. Okay, here it is. I've never made a fall. My mother never made fall kind of quilts, so maybe that's why I'm not drawn to work on it, even though it's literally fall time right now. But no, I pick up a Christmas quilt to work on. But look how cute it is. They use batiks, fabrics. But at that time I didn't have any. I actually do have a few browns and stuff that I could kind of switch out for some of these solid colors that I'm using, but so I'm using green. See if I can just hold this up and show you without dumping it all out. Okay, so we got green with stars. We have like a brown with some starbursts. We have the orange polka dot, which is the same that I used on my dinosaur quilt. And then there's the pale yellow. Yeah. So, and then just the cream for the background. So I don't know, but it's there when I do know, and I'm wanting to work on it. So here's that one. Next one is actually much older than this whole thing. I actually cut this out long when my son was an itty bitty baby, and I was deep in the let's make lots of baby quilts and baby samplers and baby things. That didn't last too long because you just don't have that kind of time when you have a baby. But it is, I don't want to show. Okay, so like I said, I cut this out a long time ago. It's a little I Spy quilt that I made. I was going to make for my son. Sorry, it's just a black and white picture. But, and I just used a bunch of scraps that were kind of baby-like. So, again, lots of blues. Little dinosaur. Little moon. I don't want to lose these little bitty pieces of black cornerstone pieces. Itty bitty. I needed like a million of those, so I don't want to lose them. Moon and stars. Apple pie things. Fish. And now looking at this, I really want to kind of make this. So basically I a bunch of blue themed kind of things. Okay, so like I said, I think my hesitation with this is that we don't really need an I Spy quilt. I can't really figure out when and if we would use this. Maybe in travels. So I thought of making, I don't know how big it makes. I think it's pretty big. I thought about making kind of a travel I Spy quilt for him. Or maybe one to put in the camper when we go camping, and you can use it in there. And then I also thought of making it kind of like into some stuffed animals, like I Spy, like make the quilt top and then cut it out into stuffed animals. Maybe like a big stuffed animal, like a hippo or something. So I don't know, but something's hesitating to keeping me from working on that. This one is just kind of a random little one here. Purples and greens, kind of flowers. There's just a little bitty wall hanging. So this was one of those middle of the night. It was like almost midnight or something. I was like, let's cut out some fabric for a quilt that I'll never do anything with. But there it is. Okay, next two are Christmas winter themed. And this one I was making for my son as well. And it's this. Because last year and this year, he seems to be really into snowman and red. Remember, I was going to make this for you last year. Cute, huh? I know. So I cut out a bunch of red scraps. And there's it. So that's just like a little table topper kind of thing. And I should probably work on this. I could probably get that done too. It's pretty simple looking. Alright. Back up a little bit, baby. Oh, yeah, you show. Go ahead.
I made it.
Here. Ooh, what is it?
A princess.
A princess?
Yeah.
What kind of princess?
A very princess.
Oh.
You're flying.
Yeah, she's flying. She's a fairy princess
Yeah.
that flies.
Yeah.
Very nice.
He's great costume.
Very good costume, yes. Alright, I'm going to show this last quilt. Last one is a Christmas one as well. And it is quite advanced for my skill set. I went ahead and cut it out just because I loved the look of it. Let me see if I can find it now. I just love the look of it. I knew that it was going to be just a little bit beyond my skill set for a while until I got some more quilts under my belt. But I went ahead and did it anyway. I used a lot of what was left of my mother's extensive Christmas stash of fabric. So that was kind of exciting to do that.
A fairy costume.
A fairy costume?
Yeah.
See if I can find it in here. Okay, here it is. Back up, darling. It's just like a little wall hanging as well. I even have a perfect spot for it in the kitchen. But again, I just knew it was going to be quite detailed. And it is. It's very teeny and there's lots of pieces to it. But I thought it would be cute to maybe work on just one block at a time like my mother used to do. My mother used to just do a block of a random quilt and then move on, you know. And then when you had all the blocks done, you do something like that. So anyway, so that's that. That's all I have already kind of cut up and prepared. I have since then
But I said it. I ate.
Okay, so that's about all I have to show. Hope you enjoyed. Comment and subscribe, like. I'll see you in the next one. Will probably be a doll related collecting video, or it might be cross stitch. We're gonna go do something else right now, right?
Right.
So, all right, I'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.